I'd like to start by bringing you back to a day last school year, February 28th, 2014. That was the day that some of our bus drivers called in sick to protest the loss of their benefits, and we had to scramble around making arrangements to get our kids home that day. This act of civil disobedience by some of our bus drivers inconvenienced parents, caregivers, and school staff. The reality of lack of funding for our kids' schools literally hit us where we live because the buses would not be dropping our kids off at home that day. It was kind of a painful afternoon for many parents. It was one of many hard days for our bus drivers and school board members. But when the bus drivers picked up and dropped off the kids the next day and continued to do so for the rest of the school year, parents and caregivers were able to get back to their busy lives, and most were able to put the pain of that day behind them. I'm asking parents to recall that day and how you felt when you were inconvenienced due to lack of funding for our schools. It made many of you mad. Some were mad at the bus drivers and some were mad at the school board. Many of us were sad because we didn't want our school system to have to make such tough choices that affected people we trust with the care and safety of our children. The pain parents felt that day is the pain our principals, teachers, support staff, PTAs, and students feel every day, due in large part to a disinvestment in our schools by the state. The recession that began in 2008 negatively impacted school funding. In the almost 7 years since then, our county schools have lost $15 million. Our schools are operating on the same budget they had in 2008. School funding and wages have remained largely stagnant, but the cost of living and doing business has not. If we stay on the dismal financial trajectory we're currently on, Roanoke County schools will continue to be short over $2 million each year. This is not sustainable. If we continue to operate on a $2 million shortfall, by the time my fourth grader graduates from high school, we'll have lost $33 million since 2008. The PTA advocates for the health, safety, education, and well-being of children. When our children's schools are underfunded, it's cause for concern. Lack of funding means children may not reach their full potential, and helping children reach their full potential is the mission of the PTA. When our schools aren't fully funded, class sizes go up. Professional development of teachers goes down. School jobs are cut. Technology purchases are put on hold. Teacher and school support staff morale goes down. School maintenance is sometimes delayed or doesn't happen. Our libraries don't get new materials. Basic necessities like copy paper are in short supply. Outsourcing of jobs held by people parents know and trust occurs. To many of our wonderful teachers and principals, the grass starts looking greener in other school districts where the pay is higher. This is happening right now in our schools. There's a saying about Roanoke County Public Schools: you can't go wrong in the county. This is due in large part to our hardworking Roanoke County Schools employees and students. We have engaged parents and we have the forward thinking of our superintendent. This council is concerned that continued lack of funding will chip away at the integrity and success of our schools. One of the primary jobs of a PTA president is to be a conduit for communication. I'm sharing with you the concerns of the stakeholders in our schools and community. The Roanoke County Schools Superintendent Survey results recently came out. The question was asked, what is the first thing the new superintendent should work on? The 449 answers to the question were very telling. These things top the list in this order: funding, budget, salaries, SOL reform, morale, keeping Roanoke County schools the best around and keeping our standards high, effective leadership, and class size. I'm hearing that we sometimes have a lack of basic needs in our schools and some class sizes are too big. I'm hearing that our teachers and school support staff are feeling demoralized due to stagnant pay. They may put on their game face each morning and they may be smiling on the outside, but make no mistake, they're struggling to stay fulfilled in a career where their pay does not reflect the increasing demands placed on them due to the education mandates under No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. Teaching for many is not just a job, it's a calling. It's an altruistic profession. Our children's teachers could have gone down a different path in life and made more money, but they find gratification in seeing the progress and growth of our children each year, and so they devote their days, and often their nights, to the educational success of our children. This does not mean they want to work for less than they deserve to be paid, nor does it mean they will stay in jobs or stay happy in jobs where they don't feel their pay reflects their efforts. Our county teachers are not asking for huge raises, but their pay has been largely stagnant for going on 5 years now, while the cost of living has increased. We've been to too many PTA council and school board meetings in the past few years where the conversation has been focused on the grim realities of our funding crisis. The time has come for us to do what teachers ask our children to do each day in the classroom: be problem solvers. This is what the PTA does. We see a problem and we try to solve it. The problem is our state is the 9th wealthiest state in the nation, but we're ranked 38th in per pupil spending and 37th in teacher salaries. Why? When here in Roanoke County, all of our schools are fully accredited, our graduation rates, SOL scores, SAT scores, and general school satisfaction are above average, should we pay our teachers below average salaries? Why should our per pupil spending not keep up with the rest of our area, the state, and the country? Do our schools deserve to be underfunded as a reward for their success? Is stagnant pay the right way to show our teachers we appreciate the work they have done in the classroom to help earn these successes? You know, when we look at surrounding areas, we see that our test scores and graduation rates are higher than in those areas, but we see that our per pupil spending is below that of Roanoke City, Salem City, Franklin County, Botetourt County, and Montgomery County. When we look at those same areas, we see our teachers are being paid here less as well. Virginia Public Schools are ranked 5th in the nation. Please don't tell us that we're not doing great work here with the funding we're getting. And please don't think that admitting we're struggling due to financial stresses means that we're being critical of Roanoke County Public Schools. The Roanoke County Schools website shows that our schools, on average, are well within the class size standards set by the state, and Dr. Lang and the school board try their best to have enough teachers and keep class sizes down. They do appreciate the work our teachers do, but they have to work within the budget they're given, and we don't envy them when they have to make hard and sometimes unpopular decisions due to budget constraints. The state is giving our schools the bare minimum of what they are constitutionally obligated to give us. This tells us they don't understand the growing needs of our schools. They don't understand how lack of funding hurts the daily operation of our schools and how stagnant pay hurts our teachers and faculties, their families, and their morale. Dr. Lang and our school board advocate for more funding, but we don't get it. We're feeling the effects of underfunded federal education mandates in our schools. We see our teachers' shoulders slumped under the weight of the educational policies under No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. Our teachers are expected to ensure that every child, no matter their family's income or level of engagement, no matter their limited English speaking skills or developmental ability, pass high-stakes end-of-year tests, and often they're expected to do so with large class sizes and limited classroom resources. Take, for example, the second grade teacher with 24 kids in her class. She has 2 students with limited English speaking abilities, 2 students with special needs, 2 students in the gifted program, and 2 students with behavior issues. That means a third of her class needs some type of special attention every day, but maybe she only has an instructional assistant for an hour a day, if that. And let's not forget the kids who don't have those special needs. It's downright impossible to meet each child's individual needs with the limited support she has. This second grade teacher may have incredible classroom management skills. She's largely unrattled and handles her classroom with kindness, grace, and humor. But at the end of the day, she's exhausted, and she feels like she isn't able to do enough. She knows she could help her students be the best they can be if only she had the time, resources, and autonomy to meet her students where they are and give them individual attention. But the tests keep coming, the benchmarks need to be met, the data needs to be submitted and analyzed, and the remediation attended to. That's a sad reality of an education system that cares more about test scores than it does about creating lifelong lovers of learning. This is a sad reality when the curriculum gets more and more rigorous, but the funding does not. Parents and educators would like our legislators and local school officials to not just think about the bottom line when it comes to our schools. We want them to take into consideration the long-term well-being of our children. The education of our children should not be considered an expense. It should be considered an investment in this community, state, and nation. Our public schools are valuable, not because they're money makers, but because they're responsible citizen makers. When we support our schools through proper funding, our schools thrive. When our schools thrive, our community draws more families and more businesses. This helps to stabilize our community and makes people want to stay here and invest here. Parents don't want to have to worry about outsourcing or the closing of high-performing schools in our county. They don't want to have to continually advocate for small class sizes. Our PTAs get a little tired of picking up the slack and providing basic necessities for our schools that we shouldn't have to provide. Our teachers are tired of spending hundreds of dollars each year out of their own grocery and gas money to provide materials for their classrooms. This brings us to the reason for this meeting and this question: what can be done? Well, one thing that could be done is nothing. We could continue to experience cuts to education and see quality teachers and administrators leave our schools and morale continue to decline in those who stay. We could see increased outsourcing. We could see less investment in school maintenance. We could see class sizes increase. We could see high-performing schools close. We could go to the February school board meeting and once again hear a phrase many have come to dread: all of the low-hanging fruit is gone, and we have to make more hard financial decisions. Doing nothing is not a proactive choice, but it's a choice nonetheless. Another thing we could do is cut spending in some areas. One place people point to is technology. What they may not understand is that according to the 2014-2016 Roanoke County Schools Technology Plan, only 1.9% of the Roanoke County Schools budget goes to media services, while more than 80% of the budget goes into the people working in and for our schools. Technology is integrated into almost every part of our schools. Funding for technology goes into hardware, software, network infrastructure, instructional programs, staffing, career and technology education, special education, broadband, bandwidth, blackboard, active boards, technology advisors, the website, transportation, nutrition services, including lunch accounts, and our safety and security systems, including the lobby guard system. Our success with technology is influencing other school districts. We've had our laptop program for 13 years, and now Roanoke City is implementing their own, and Botetourt is starting a tablet program. Our laptop program is now part of us. If you look into our high schools, you'll see those laptops are being used all day, every day. Roanoke County Schools is renowned for its use of technology to not only promote career and college readiness, but also to promote innovation readiness. We know that technology advances at lightning speed, and our children need to be comfortable using technology. It's not only woven into the fiber of our schools, it's woven into the fabric of our world. Roanoke County Schools wants their students to be on the forefront of technology, so when they start their search in the job market, they're better able to secure jobs or create their own companies and businesses. Entrepreneurship is one way to circumvent outsourcing of American jobs. When we create our own jobs, we promote community growth, and that encourages people to stay in our community and invest here. One thing this area needs is for us to keep our talent here. We don't want people to get their talent here and then move on. Technology is integrated into so many fields: medicine, agriculture, engineering, law enforcement, finance. It's everywhere we look. Again, our technology expenditures account for about 2% of our total budget, while our human resources budget is over 80% of our budget. Well, there's another choice that's been proven successful in Roanoke City and Salem City, and that's an Eat for Education program. The meals tax idea is one that parents in Roanoke County keep asking me about. Parents point to the success of the Eat for Education programs in Roanoke City and Salem and ask why we can't do that here in the county. Roanoke City implemented a 2-year, 2% increase in their meals tax. In that time, their schools received $9.5 million. According to the Roanoke City Eat for Ed website, this funding ensured that class sizes remained at reasonable levels, students received needed books and materials, a full summer school program was reinstated, and a reading camp for K through 2nd was conducted, among many other accomplishments. Following Roanoke City's lead, Salem implemented an ongoing 2% meals tax increase to help their schools, and they built a $15 million school. So, is an Eat for Education program in Roanoke County a viable option? Is it something the residents of Roanoke County can get behind? That's a good question. This community is known for its ability to rally behind a cause. We're an extremely caring community. We realize that our schools are more than just brick and mortar structures. They're a source of pride and in many ways the hearts of our communities. That being said, would this community be willing to give 2 cents more for education? If we bought a cup of coffee, would we mind putting 4 cents of our change in a jar labeled Eat for Education? If we bought a large pizza, would we mind putting 50 cents in that jar? If we went out for an upscale meal, would we mind putting $1 in that jar? Many people in Roanoke County tell me they'd be glad to do it if it helped alleviate some of the financial stresses our schools are experiencing. Parents point out that we eat out in Salem quite often, and when we do, we support their schools. When Roanoke City had their Eat for Education program, it didn't deter us from eating in city restaurants and supporting their schools. About 60% of the revenue generated from meals in Roanoke County comes from Roanoke County residents. About 40% of that revenue comes from people who live outside the county. So just as we support other community schools, they will support us, as will people who are passing through or visiting our area. Something to note here, although there was fear that restaurant revenues would go down in Roanoke City when they implemented their Eat for Ed program, that didn't prove to be the case, and that hasn't been the case in Salem either. It's hard for us to agree on some things when it comes to taxes. No one loves paying more. But if there's one area where we feel we get a return on our investment, it's our schools. Roanoke County Schools and the Board of Supervisors have a revenue sharing agreement. Half of the revenue generated through an Eat for Education program would go to our schools, and half would go into the county budget. What the county would do with that revenue is a question the Board of Supervisors would have to answer. Where the revenue given to our schools would go would be decided by the Roanoke County Schools Budget Committee. In both instances, citizens should be encouraged to provide feedback as to where they believe that money is best spent. One important question that needs to be answered is this: how much revenue would an Eat for Education program provide to our schools? Looking at the Roanoke County budget, it would mean about $2 million more per year for our county, which would mean about $1 million more for our schools. That's just what I'm seeing, but I'm just one PTA mom on a mission, so I'm hoping I'm right on that figure. But that's kind of what I gathered from their budget. The next question is, how does an Eat for Education program get implemented? The Code of Virginia states that Roanoke County may levy a meals tax if it's approved by a voter referendum. The voter referendum may be initiated by either a resolution by our Board of Supervisors or by the filing of a petition signed by 10% of Roanoke County voters. There are about 68,800 registered voters in Roanoke County. That would mean a petition would have to be signed by almost 7,000 Roanoke County voters in order for the request for a vote on a meals tax to be taken to the General Assembly for approval. I'll add that according to the Virginia Code I referenced, Roanoke County has been exempted from the voter referendum, provided a public hearing is held before adoption, and the Board of Supervisors, by unanimous vote, adopts the tax by local ordinance. An Eat for Education program can be utilized for a limited time, like the 2 years it was implemented in Roanoke City, or it can be ongoing, like it is in Salem. This PTA is starting a conversation about an Eat for Education program. We'll listen to our membership and the citizens of Roanoke County, and we'll ask our Board of Supervisors if they support an Eat for Education program. When looking at other areas across Virginia and the country, I found that it's usually city councils or Board of Supervisors that promote these programs, and they use their budgets to do so. Our PTA council operates on a minimal budget. Almost all of the money we receive through dues goes right back into our schools through local unit awards, book grants, and after-prom grants. We don't have a lot of money to advocate for an Eat for Education program. What we do have is strength in numbers. We have 5 million PTA member voices across the country behind us when we say that proper funding for our schools is imperative. We have 300,000 Virginia PTA voices behind us when we say an Eat for Education program is one way to help fund them. Another choice that's been suggested is an increase in property taxes in Roanoke County. If we raise property taxes by $30 on every $100,000 of a home's value, we could have a significant increase in revenue for our schools, and this kind of revenue increase would not have to be approved by the General Assembly. Many county residents have told me they wouldn't mind paying a little more each year, but some residents have pointed out that Roanoke County has the second highest property tax rate of a county in the state. Again, it's a choice, and it's one that would certainly favorably impact our schools, but it may be a hard sell to some. That being said, I've been kind of surprised by the number of fiscal conservatives here in the county who've told me they would fully support this revenue increase if it benefited our schools. There are two other ways to have our voices heard concerning funding. One is to vote for candidates who will fully fund our schools. Another is to reach out to our legislators and share our concerns with them. This council has created a petition asking our legislators for more funding. It's found on the Roanoke County Council of PTA's Facebook page and at thepetitionsite.com under Fully and Fairly Fund Roanoke County Public Schools. We have a couple of hard copies of the petition here tonight, so you can sign it here after the meeting if you like. They're on that table. Please sign and share this petition. It's a petition anyone in Roanoke County can sign, not just PTA members. Our council will deliver the signatures to our legislators at PTA Day at the General Assembly on January 26th. You know, if our legislators tell us they're listening to our concerns and will fully and fairly fund our schools, the conversation about local revenue increases could stop here. But if there's no good news on the horizon, we may have to consider our options. There may be other choices when it comes to funding our schools, and I hope you'll share your ideas and concerns at this meeting.